Hello and welcome, I'm Micah, the cosplayer seamstress. Today we are going to be doing the interfacing and sewing the bodice for the medieval poison ivy cosplay. But before that, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The materials I will need for this are black thread, interfacing, green satin fabric, the green mesh fabric, the green cotton fabric, the leaf trim, the pattern with instructions, scissors, both fabric and paper, a handheld needle, and the sewing machine. If you would like to know where I got the pattern, fabric, and the trim, and how much they cost, check out the Medieval Poison Ivy Patterns and Plans video. The first step is to cut out the pattern paper. To figure out which pieces I will need, I will reference the pattern. I will need pieces 6, 7, and 8 for the interfacing, and pieces 1, 2, and 13 for the bodice. Once I have determined which pattern pieces I need, I will cut them out using the paper scissors. Remember to never use fabric scissors on paper. After I cut the pattern paper, I will use those pieces to cut out the fabric. You can use the cutting layouts provided in the pattern, or you can make your own layouts as long as you follow the instructions on the patterned paper. For example, if you need to cut something on a fold, then you need to remember to cut that on a fold. Or if you need to cut 2, make sure you cut 2. I will be creating my own layouts as I tend to run out of fabric if I don't. I will also need to cut notches here as well. To mark the dots, I will do that later with fabric chalk. I will also need to cut out the mesh fabric, as that's the contrast. And lastly, I will need to cut out the interfacing. Next, I will set up the machine. If you're not sure how to make a bobbin match your thread or how to thread the machine or bobbin, check out my sewing machine walkthrough video. I will be using mainly black thread on this part, which I know does not match the fabric. I also know that that goes against trying to always match your thread to the fabric, which I have said in basically every other video. In this case, I could not find a good thread to match the fabric, and the black will look nice on the green fabric, should it be seen, so I'm going to do it this way this time. Now I will begin following the instructions. Please know that I will not always follow the directions, and that's okay. To start, I will be doing all of the interfacing. I will be pinning the interfacing to the fabric and fusing it together following the manufacturer's instructions. For this interfacing, that is steam basting the edges. Then with a damp cloth on top, pressing the whole thing at 10-second increments. Pattern piece 7 had 2 pieces of fabric, so I will have to do that one twice. I will also have to do this process twice for pattern piece 8. However, pattern piece 6 only has 1 piece of fabric, so I'll only have to do that once. This is step 1 and is all the interfacing I have to do for the dress. After working on the interfacing, I will sew the bodice. The first thing I will be doing is putting darts on the front piece. This is step 2. Next, I will be pinning the green mesh fabric to the top of the bodice. I will baste this in place along the top and the armhole edges using the machine. This is step 3. Then I will cut a piece of the leafy trim so that it matches the length of the bodice. I forgot to film this part. Next, I will pin the leafy piece on to the bodice. I will then hand sew it to the fabric using a whip stitch. This is where I stopped following the instructions a little, as according to the pattern, I was supposed to sew this on the machine as well. I was afraid to sew the plastic plants, so I skipped that part. This is step 4. Next, I will sew the darts into the back pieces. There are 2, so I'll have to do this twice. Then, I will sew the front and the back together at the side seams. This is step 5. Next, I will sew the lining pieces the same way I did the satin pieces. This means I will put the darts into the front cotton piece, then I will do darts on the back cotton pieces, next, I will sew those pieces together at the side seams. Then I will press the bottom of the lining up 5/8 inch. Following a similar process, I will press in 3/4 of an inch on the sides. The pattern says to trim these folded pieces down to 1/4 inch, but I'm not going to do that as it just feels a little extra to me. Next, I will pin the lining and the satin together, making sure that the notches match as best as possible. I pinned the wrong sides together. I forgot to film this part of the step as well. I will then base stitch this all together along the top edges and the armholes. This is step 6. Congratulations! You now have a lovely bodice. This is what it looks like on the dress form. If you would like to see how I make this skirt and apply the zipper, come back next week. Now that you have the bodice, you are ready for the skirt and zipper. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next project!